Hi, good evening, WHT family. So happy to have you again. So happy to have you. Thank you for stopping by as we begin another episode of Talk Truth, right? This reminding you that this is your safe space and your safe place where we tackle the issue of childhood sexual abuse. And Talk Truth is brought to you courtesy of Women Healing Together and the LAX Society. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, remember, we are not selfish here on the Women Healing Together family, WHT. We are not selfish. So please, I ask you right now to share this video. Whether you are live or you're watching after the live, it is critical that we share because women need the support. There are so many women who are struggling, who do not find a safe space where people can just naturally and authentically talk about the issue of childhood sexual abuse. And this may be the only hope that a woman, a sister, a girlfriend, an aunt has. So please share. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell. So subscribe definitely and hit the notification bell so you are notified, informed every time we post a video, every time we go live. Reminding you also that this is an interactive program. So we definitely want you, if you're on the live, ask the questions, comment, interact so that we can really build a strong community. And if you're watching after the live, please feel free to go to the comment section, leave your comments, leave your thoughts. Again, let's start the ball rolling. This is episode 5, and we're dealing with the topic trauma and my brain. And today, this evening, we have a very special guest with us, and I'm going to bring her on right now so that I can officially introduce her. Here she is. Hi, Sania.
Hi.
Wonderful. So with us this evening is, Sania Dookie. She's a mental health therapist, and this lady she is well equipped to speak with us today. And I'm always so happy, Sania, because as the women come in, as the experts come in, and as we have a conversation, I think it is important for the WHT family, the Women Healing Together family, to know that we have qualified persons.
Yeah.
And women who are able to, so this is amazing. Just a little background in Sania's experience, qualification, and expertise. She has a Bachelor of Science in Social Work, solid foundation. She didn't stop there. She went and she did a master's in psychotherapy. She didn't stop there. She is now doing doctoral studies. She's doing a doctoral degree in clinical psychology. And she will soon be completing her studies. And we are just celebrating you just because of that.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Amazing. And I know that the ladies can't wait to hear what is happening. So, is there anything you'd like to share generally? Would you like to say something to the ladies before we dig into the whole trauma and the brain thing?
Yeah, I'm really happy you asked me that question because, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on your show. This is a topic that a lot of people are scared of facing, and just for you being that voice out there, I believe that you will be helping to bring a lot of healing to a lot of people out there who may have had something buried deep down inside. So just want to thank you for this, your work and your ministry. And I appreciate being on the show here. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say to all our listeners out there that it is possible to get healing from trauma. And the reason I want to say this is because some of the things that I'll be describing, it will sound like, oh my gosh, oh no, I'm done. But with the proper work and the support, it is possible to overcome these struggles that we normally get associated with the experience of trauma.
And that is so critical because in healing, sometimes cans of worms will be open, the
Mm-hmm.
bruises and the scars will be exposed, and it's difficult. And I can speak from experience. Coming face to face with the many scars and sometimes the person whom you have developed into can be very daunting and very discouraging. But I'm happy that you said it. Yes, it may be daunting and discouraging for many, but think about the knowledge that you'll walk away with. Think
Mm-hmm.
about under be encouraged, ladies and WHT family, as you now become aware of how trauma affects the brain, then you're in a better position to do the work and to have the support and even if ladies who are watching Sania who have never experienced childhood sexual abuse, they will be more informed and hopefully have more sympathy and to be more supportive of others. I'm so excited to begin.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
let's
think we're gonna understand sometimes why individuals behave the way they do, and not just for childhood sexual trauma too, but we're talking about the emotional trauma, it's the physical trauma that some children endure growing up, right?
Mhm.
So we'll have a very good idea of why we behave the way we do when we experience trauma, and why we're still struggling sometimes, today, even though the experience happened a long time ago.
Yeah. And as I was getting ready, the thought came to me. Originally, when I founded Women Healing Together, the primary goal was to really help women who have experienced childhood sexual abuse. But as I'm interacting with other women, you realize, yes, you may not have experienced childhood sexual abuse as a trauma, but you may have experienced other things. And,
Absolutely.
and especially when we did the episode on domestic abuse, a lot of women were DMing, they were inboxing, they were messaging, and they were saying, "Oh, this was so useful, POPSANN. I'm so happy that you did this." And they're calling for a part two. And as I always say, this channel, it's not just my channel, it's our channel. So as you are watching, as you are here, Sania, as the ladies, even the men, because the men are watching, they also have a part to play. So we will be informed by your suggestions. So I don't want someone to see Talk Truth and say, "Oh, Talk Truth is just for those who are sexual abuse." I was not sexual abuse. I'm not going to be bothered. You can learn something.
Mm-hmm,
You can
mm-hmm.
learn something from it.
Yeah.
So let's dig right in. And the obvious question, it's obvious, but it is important because I don't think a lot of persons know. I didn't know until a few years ago. So the question is, Madam Mental Health Therapist, does trauma affect the brain? Let's put it
Uh,
out there.
oh my gosh. Trauma is not just an abstract experience or a memory, it's also physical.
Mhm.
It has structural impact on the brain, not just in your body, not just the body, but the brain, because the brain is the central processing unit of your whole system, of your existence. So, whatever you experience is going to be processed through your brain. As a result of our experiences, it alters our brain. Whatever energy or chemicals flow through our brain, that is what impacts the way the brain continues to function moving forward. So yes, definitely it affects the brain. And I think as we talk about trauma, we have to the brain has to be the first thing we address when we talk about trauma, especially when I'm working with my clients here. The first thing we talk about is understanding the brain, because everything else we do after that will just come into place. They'll know exactly why they're doing what they're doing, why the suggestion, whatever comes about in our session, because they know exactly what they're undoing or
Mhm.
changing structurally, rewiring in their brain.
Mhm. I want to thank you so much for that response. And I want to just shoot a question to our viewers. You are here, you're watching. We need to know that you are here. In Jamaica, when you're in school and they call your name, Sania Dookie, present, miss. Right? So we want to know that you are here. If you are here and you're watching, just go ahead and type present in the live chat so we know that you're with us. And I also have a question for you, WHT family or viewers. Did you know that trauma affect the brain? And if you're watching after the live, I want you to go to the comment section and I want you to just type that. Did you know or did you not know? Because that was news to me until 2, 3 years ago. So we're learning that it does affect the brain. And as you spoke, this analogy came to mind. And tell me if I'm on track in terms of this. So a hard pour of rain comes and it pours on the ground and the pathways are created, and as the rain comes harder, it either causes erosion or it causes new pathways, and then you have to, so it's structurally, it affects the composition of the earth, of the ground, and then you may have to go in and say no, you have to maybe put some sandbags here or erect a, what do you think about that analogy in terms of the
I really like that description there.
Mhm.
You're right. The type of experiences we have, it does create new pathways in our brain. You use the analogy of hard pouring rain, making different ripples of structural in the ground, right? For myself, I like to use the analogy of a highway. Highways and byways, because now in Canada you see roads, you're like, where is that road coming from? But anyways, so that's what happens. The experiences that our brain is our brain has what we call the neurons, and neurons make helps with transmitting messages to where it needs to go and so forth. And each experience that we have helps or impacts the growth of the different neurons or the neurons in our brain. So those are what will create different pathways, whatever the experience is, whether it's positive or negative, it is going to be creating a pathway in your brain. So imagine you're having that experience over a period of time. It's almost like you're putting cement on something, right? It becomes more permanent. But I'm really happy that God created something called neuroplasticity in the brain. The brain's ability
I can't wait to have a special guest on, but we're not
Yes.
going to say who that special guest is.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. God knew that we would need rescuing, and so that's why he allowed the brain to have the ability to create new pathways, new roadways. So when you don't use that, if you're not feeding into that experience anymore, and you're nurturing yourself, you find that the nurtured aspect starts to grow and become stronger.
Look here, I'm going to call you Dr. Sonia because I'm speaking it into being. Wait a minute. Don't give them all of that just yet. Right? Amazing. Now, the next question is, does the trauma and its effect on the brain, can that affect perception? And before you respond to that question, Shireen from YouTube says, present miss, she's here. All right. So just to rephrase that question, does trauma and the effect that it has on the brain, can it affect our perception of reality and how we view things, especially in the context of being survivors?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if, I could tell you just a basic description of what the brain structure. I'm just going to focus on 3 major functionalities of the brain, because that will help us to have an idea of maybe whatever the next conversation, the rest of the conversation will look like. So there are 3 major functionalities of the brain. Obviously, it's a complex system, and still we're studying that. But the 3 that I'll mention, I'm going to be using the model, the hand model, which was described so simply by Dan Siegel. He's a neuropsychiatrist. And so I'm going to be using my hand here just to describe the brain. As a matter of fact, I do have a model of a brain in my office here. Is it okay? I'm just gonna go. It's just right behind me. I
Sure,
think that's
sure,
be easier.
sure, no problem. So we are here with Sania Dookie. She's going to get a brain so
Yeah.
she can teach you about your brain. Okay, great.
So pretty much, we have our brain stem, which is the first part of the brain to be fully developed. A baby is born with a fully developed brain stem, and that part of the brain is responsible for survival. When that baby is hungry, tired, sleepy, wet, all that stuff. That's the part of the brain to is connected to our central nervous system, and then it's definitely connected to our autonomic systems, our heart, lungs, all that stuff. And we find that all the information we're getting from our environment, whether it be through our ears or skin, touch, whatever it is, it's processed, and the gateway, the brain stem, gets all that information. I call it the gateway to the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is where all the sensory stuff passes through. And then we move on to our limbic area. And the limbic area is the part of the brain that helps us to process emotions, whether negative or positive, and helps us to know how we feel or think about a particular situation, right? So imagine if the body is getting negative data or information that is like, okay, what is going on here? The brainstem is going to be going into fight, flight, freeze mode, all that stuff is going, and that's what is going to be fed into our limbic area. Is going to help us to realize that, okay, I'm feeling frightened, or I think I need to fight, or oh my gosh, I freeze. And there's a little part in the brain there called the amygdala, which fires off when it senses danger. That is its job, right? Once it does that, it helps to activate the different chemicals and operations we need in our body in order to help us to survive. So when you hear somebody say, oh my gosh, you frightened me, the amygdala got kicked off, and then your heart start racing and you're like, see, I can't even breathe, because it's communicating here that we need to get ready to survive. So imagine somebody experiencing stress or worrying about all that stuff, something happening to them again, and they're constantly in that mode, that frightened mode, that get ready to escape type of mode. And the interesting thing that happens as we move up to the neocortex, which is the part of our brain that helps with the reasoning, thinking, rational thinking, problem solving, executive functioning, we find that when the downstairs part of the brain, I'm going to be using downstairs now, when the downstairs part of the brain activates, the thinking part of the brain hijacks. So this is going to answer a lot of questions.
Yes.
Part of your brain just like, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We could get back to Shireen's response.
Yeah, because you want to survive. You're in survival mode, surviving it. When the downstairs part of the brain does not think, doesn't rationalize. For myself, here, where I am, you have bears come out sometimes, right? And you're not going to be walking with your kids and you're seeing a bear, you're like, I wonder if the bear is friendly. That part is not working. Your survival is kicking in, you're running away, or you're going to decide to take action to fight it away or whatever it is. So you asked the question, can it impact our perception of reality?
You have dropped so much, my brain is in overdrive. Before you even respond to the question, just to connect it with our ladies who are watching, can you imagine someone who has an aroused, what's the word, amygdala? Is that the word?
Yes.
24/7. And I'm just looking now in my circle, and the encounters I've had with other women, and there's a particular person who stands out in my mind. She's always on the defense. She's always looking out. Is somebody going to do? Is somebody? And it even happens in my life. And this is answering a lot of questions. So we're seeing women, and it's about being supportive and sympathetic and just being a community. You see someone who he's just hyper alert, be
Yeah.
just ready on the go, ready to curse, ready to fight, just always think. And now you're helping us understand it
Mhm.
may be something much deeper than we thought.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yes.
Absolutely. And I just want to say here that I don't want us to feel bad for
Mhm.
feeling these things. See this information as awareness,
Yes.
because it is not bad that your brain is reacting that way. It is reacting that way because that's what it's supposed to be doing. What it's doing is telling you something. And what you need to do is actually now just listen. That, hey,
Mhm.
okay, I'm responding this way. I find that I am this way. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling shame about it,
Mhm.
ask why. What is
Yeah.
my brain telling me? And
And
then,
now they're knowing why.
yes.
Yes, so the question, Judge, that we were about to respond to is, does trauma affect one's perception of reality? In other words, can it play tricks on us because of what we have experienced as
Yeah.
children?
So pretty much it doesn't play a trick on you.
Mhm.
Really, the brain doesn't play tricks on you. It's just responding the way it is going to respond if it experiences or senses threat, right? Now, the situation is that sometimes the threat is not there anymore, years after, right? But because of that experience, it has been unprocessed. The body still remembers it. The body is still in that mode, fight or flight mode, survival mode. We're living in survival mode.
Mhm.
Then the brain is going to be reacting as if it is still in danger. And that is why we find, yes, our perceptions our perceptions are change. Our
Yeah.
perceptions to situations are different. Uh, we're talking about, we see someone that looks like or reminds us of that experience, right? And instantly our brain is going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I thought that was exactly that person. Or it could be a smell, it could be a sound. And your brain is going to be going back to that feeling, that moment, as if it were in the present moment. It's not playing tricks, it's just reacting because you're still in the survival mode.
That is thank you so much for sharing that. The next question that we'd like to ask you, Sania, is, does the affected brain impact healing? In other words, because we understand what it does, can it slow healing down? And can it do the opposite if we learn how to control or how to deal with the effects?
I think it's, yeah, as you mentioned, it's a matter of understanding. If we're trying to heal from trauma and we're not doing it from a brain perspective, we find that the healing process can be harder,
Mhm.
more frustrating, and definitely um, we can see it as a it's not a hindrance. It's just that we're not tapping into the right area.
Mhm.
And the reason I mentioned this is, now we're finding that when we're talking about trauma or supporting individuals with trauma, we got to work with the downstairs system first. We have to help the individual to feel safe first before you can move on to the part of your brain that has to do with the thinking and processing and making sense of situation and so forth. Because you can be talking about stuff, and if you haven't learned to ground yourself and regulate yourself, and if you haven't learned to feel safe, and there are
Mhm.
simple techniques you can use for that, but if you haven't learned to ground yourself, then we find that just bringing things to memory, it's just there. It's just there. But we haven't gotten the ability to ground or to calm that survival state that is aroused.
Mhm. The next question is, I'm thinking about a child, and for those of us as women who were once children, and our brains were affected by trauma. Do we find, or have you found, that the way the brain is affected by trauma in the child is different from the way it is affected by the woman who is now grown? Or does she carry that same impact throughout until help is given or sought?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. Of course, we have individuals who experience a traumatic event at different stages of their life. We'll note that the same systems are going to be responding in a child as it would in an adult. Just that for a child, they're still going through development. So we find that it will definitely impact their development for sure. But the responses are going to be similar. They may project differently, but the responses are going to be similar. You know, for a child, we find that they would withdraw. They would be emotional. For some kids, they're very behavioral. Other kids, they stop talking and don't want to talk anymore. Or I wouldn't say don't want to talk anymore. It's hard for them, harder for them to talk. We find that it starts affecting their learning because their hippocampus, for example, is affected. Childhood trauma can affect the growth of your brain, the neural pathway of your brain.
Hold on, tell truth nugget here. I think a mom, a dad needs to hear this. You have a bright child at home who's doing well in school, and all of a sudden you're seeing an agitated child, a child who is anxious, a child who is withdrawn, a child who may even, the child is just not doing well. Maybe from the very beginning, we need to check that out. What's happening? So
Mhm.
many times, persons will just say, "Oh, he's worthless," or even as an adult, "Oh, she's worthless. She's not going anywhere. She's not moving in her profession. She can't keep her family together." You are saying right here now that the trauma that we experience as children can affect our capacity to learn things. Oh my word. Continue, Sanya, because that's Lisa
And that's
talking.
why I find, it's important for teachers to be aware of these things too. You need to look at your students differently. What are they experiencing when they withdraw and like they're not retaining what you're teaching them? Why? I'm not saying everybody
Right.
experience trauma, but this gives us something else to think about as well. Um, and so that is what happens, right? It affects a child's ability to process information, to process information to long-term memory and so forth. And it also affects their ability to regulate their emotional because they're still in stress mode. And when you're in stress mode, you're still in survival mode. You're still reacting. You're going to be either shutting down, withdrawing, not having anything to do with, you can't relate to the world around you. You just shut down in order to survive the situation. Or you're going to be very combative, very aggressive, very, very, as you
Like confrontational, yeah.
yes. And or you're gonna find that you avoid every situation. So you're gonna have that those things are the case for children growing up. Those are the areas of the brain that we find that grow slower. The growth rate slows down because of the impact of trauma on their brain. So that's why it's really important to help. When we see these things, we got to ask questions. We have to ask questions. We have to take it very, very seriously. We need to take it seriously, guys. For an adult, we do have similar responses. If you experience the event in present time or current, we're gonna have similar experiences. memory loss, it'd be hard to really orient yourself. Sometimes we experience dissociation because sometimes the experience itself is so hard. The brain is hard to to process or to deal with whatever is going on. We find that with some individuals may have out of body experiences.
Mm.
We call that dissociation. We have things such as flashbacks. Um,
Yes.
Anything can trigger any sense organ, anything that you sense can trigger the event or the experience as if it was here today. And we also find that it it affects our ability to assess our environment properly. So someone can have a very calm, okay face,
Yes.
but we're unable to determine whether that's a safe face or not.
Wow. Oh
So we
my.
see everybody as suspicious, and
Yeah,
we're very
yeah. Look
guarded.
here, let me tell you, every time I have a guest on, and you are no different, I'm doing reflection. I'm in reflection mode. I'm looking at my life back then. I'm looking at my life now, and all that you're saying, it's true. Everybody is suspect. I've lost friendships because of that, because I just could not trust people, and that's just how it is. And you said something that's critical. Women, memory loss, the reduced ability to maybe grasp information, not being able to control one's emotion, either just delving too much in the emotion, or the very opposite, retracting from anything that's emotional, and that will touch you deep. And my heart is just going out to a sister right now, because when you go through trauma, especially sexual trauma, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. When we are having talk truth and we're talking about domestic violence, women, the viewers, the family, they are more eager to interact and so, but then it goes silent. And I just want to talk to a sister right now. We're so hard on ourselves sometimes. I can't do this. Why am I not like this? Why can't I? But something has happened and you have survived. And that's why we're here with Sania, so that you can understand what is happening and how it is affecting you.
Mhm.
Here's a question that I think mothers may be asking. And I'll use myself for an example, because that's okay. I'm fine. I am a woman, and I've experienced childhood sexual abuse, and I know that it has affected my brain, because trauma does. That's what you have said, right? That's what the research says. For my unborn child, does that have an impact? What's the relationship? The mother is affected, the child is inside, or the child is born. Do mothers need to know the correlation here, or is there a correlation?
Well, we got to think about two factors that
Mhm.
that may happen.
Okay.
um, for for a mom, or for a woman, if you've gone through the healing process of trauma, you know how to cope with your emotions, your symptoms. You're very self-aware, and you know what's going on for you. You know what triggers you. You know how to ground yourself and so forth. um, this reduces your chance of releasing all that stress hormone that's going to be raging through your body, right?
Mm.
um, because studies show that stress hormones of the mom can definitely pass on to the fetus of the fetus, right?
Mhm.
And can impact the brain development of a child as well. So that's why I have to say that part first, because I
Yes,
don't want people like, oh my gosh,
yes,
you know,
yes.
we have the ability to control or to work on
Hmm.
our own regulation. So this does not pass down. The stress, the survival mode that we're in doesn't pass down to our children. So in that context, if a mom is extremely stressed, triggered, in survival mode, that can definitely pass down to the child. The other thing to consider is that a lot of children who experience childhood sexual trauma, abuse, um, the attachment as well, the relationship, that child's attachment, whether it could be their father figure, mother figure, you know, that can be impacted as well. So that parents, the child born not really attached or connected or bonded with the child because they're still detached
Wow.
from their own emotions.
Wow.
Yes, so we have to take that into consideration, and the child needs that bonding. And if you find that you're still detached from your emotions, we find that it's harder. You can't connect with a child emotionally if you're detached, from your emotions, right? So that's the other thing that I want to mention as well, that those are preventable. Those are things that we can work on, we can become aware of. Go see a therapist, go see someone who can help you to reverse or to prevent or whatever, even if you already have your child, right? These are things that's why we love neuroplasticity, is that these are things that you can help to build resilience in your child as well. But first, you're doing that in yourself so you can help your child and prevent the risk of intergenerational trauma, right? Which is another topic for another day.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Tanisha has a question. She says, so for an adult who likes to hoard or lives with a lot of clutter, would you contribute this to the impact of trauma affecting their organizational ability?
Hmm. Uh, well, everybody's situation is different. Um, but hoarding and cluttering, I'm not sure if it's talking about the individual's ability to organize or to tidy up, things like that. Yes, within that context, I can say if that individual is impacted in their organization, executive functioning, we're going to find there'll be struggle to even tidy up your house. You're going to also see that in the way you organize your life, time management, and making plans and carrying out with it and all that stuff. We're going to find those things are happening.
Can that be, I'm sorry, can that be related to the feeling of not having control because
That's
you
that's the
are,
next thing. That's the
yeah?
next thing I wanted to mention, because hoarding too. If we're differentiating between organizing yourself or hoarding a lot of times is associated. Yes, could be some history of trauma or living in a very unstable environment, and we find that your way of trying to gain control is just the compulsive behavior of keeping things,
Yeah.
right? And that could be a way of grounding yourself or surviving. It's a survival mechanism. It's not necessarily a healthy survival mechanism, but that's what the individual is using right now to survive. And that's what we find, in ability to deal with that feeling of lack of control. We will find individuals hoard. A simple example we could find the other day when the pandemic and everything started, everybody started hoarding on tissue paper, right?
What was that about? What story for other days? I'm like, what?
It's just the feeling of I gotta control something. And a lot of time we can see that through hoarding and other obsessive compulsive
I-
disorder.
I'm telling you, viewers, WHT family, you are with us tonight. If this has been a very informative session and you're not understanding how trauma affects your brain, and you're even looking at others and say, there is a possibility I need to be more supportive and more sympathetic, just put in the chat right now or in the comment section if you're watching after the live, just put support. We're all about support. That's one of our core values here at Women Healing Together. Shireen had a comment a little earlier. We could just put that on screen before we close off. Thank you so much. Shireen says, that is why it is stated the greatest battle we fight is in our minds. And I the specialist is here. For so very long in my own life, I wanted to control everybody. I'm the eldest of five children. I'm used to being the boss, right?
Mm,
I want to control everybody. I want to ensure that nobody hurts. So I have to make sure that this is happening. And then I realized something is wrong up here. Not that I'm crazy, but the brain, as you said, was trying to say to me, there must be a reason. You're trying to control everything, and you
mm,
don't want anything to be out of place because you just felt as if you lost control as a child. And now you're ensuring that nobody gets to you emotionally. So all
mhm.
of that.
Yeah.
As we close, you have mentioned a phrase repeatedly: grounding yourself. The brain gives us signal. Now it's time for us to ground ourselves. Can you share some practical ways, at least three, to a sister who is watching? What
Yeah.
can she do practically? And you can share in the comments as you are watching. What do you do, WHT family, to ground yourself when you feel as if things are just spiraling out of control? Talk to a sister who's
Yes.
waiting for someone.
Yes. Well, what we want to start doing is breaking that stress cycle. We want to break that stress arousal that's happening there. And the first thing we could start doing is start with your body, start grounding your body. And the most simplest technique that we could possibly try and do is deep breathing. Deep breathing. Um, this is where you're breathing deeply into your diaphragm 4 seconds, count of 4 seconds, pausing and exhaling for 7 seconds.
Can we try that? Practice it on me. So I go in what? For 4?
4 seconds. So you
Okay.
breathe in. When you breathe, yeah, about all my apparatus.
Okay.
When
Just
you
try.
breathe in, so okay, make sure that you're seated, you're comfortable, and
Try it at home, guys. You can try it at home.
yes, make sure that the whatever you're sitting on or lying on is supporting your body. You're at
Mm-hmm.
rest.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to take a deep breath in through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That was relaxing.
Girl, it works wonders. It works. What you just did a while ago is give your amygdala a hug
Oh,
and
my
say, "Hey,
stress amygdala,
you're
stress every day.
we're okay. You're
Oh,
okay. You can calm down because it's a fire alarm. It's like a fire alarm.
yeah.
Okay, you can calm down now. If you do a few of that throughout
Mhm.
the day, you wake up in the morning, you say your prayers, you do your deep breathing. Um, that helps to start you for the day.
Mhm.
The other thing too that you could try is still connecting with your senses again. Is if you feel like your memories and all that stuff is getting carried away, bring back yourself to the present and use your eyes to identify things. It's like almost like you're being a visitor.
Mhm.
5 blue or red things that I can see around me.
Blue.
Anything. You could. There you go. And then what do I hear right here, right now around me?
Mhm.
And how do I feel? How does my skin feel? The pressure of my shoe, or is it cold, or all that stuff. And you want to also, okay, what does it smell like? What do I smell around me? Especially, you could use it in any place you are, restaurant or on the street, workplace, wherever. Just ground yourself, bring yourself back to the present. And you also want to remind yourself of a few things. My name is Sania. I am this years old. I am no longer that years old. I hold the
Mhm.
key to my own house now. I am safe in my house. This is my cat, for example.
Yeah.
You're giving yourself back that control, and you're bringing yourself away from that time when you felt you didn't have control. You're like, now you're safe. Now you're in a position where you're able to protect yourself. Now you have
Mm.
people around you. You choose the people around you, people
Yes.
who are safe around you. So those are a couple of things that you could try to do. And the biggest thing for me that I use, and you're gonna be hearing about this, coming
Yes.
up. Yeah, is
Yes.
I use visual um, meditation when I am praying to God. I
Mhm.
visualize, and this is biblical
Mhm.
meditation. No, no spoilers here,
Don't
but
spoil it.
But
So,
for me
mhm.
personally, I visualize God's arms, and I'm
Mhm.
literally lying in his arms. And I don't stop there. I start to picture the same one who is holding me, is the same one who created the cosmos,
Mhm.
the one who is able to calm a storm with his hand, the one
Yes.
who I start to picture all those things. And because I know those things are huge, but that my God is able to
Mhm.
just do whatever, and He's holding me, then
Mhm.
I'm safe. I'm
Yes.
safe.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Sanya. Look, WHD family, not only is Sanya mental health therapist giving us a gateway, a view into how our brain has been affected by trauma, but she just dropped some talk truth treasures. She says to us, we can do deep breathing, 4 seconds in, 7 seconds release. She says that we can also use our senses to remind ourselves that, okay, I'm feeling this right now. I am seeing, identify anything that's blue. And I think blue is very calming. So I think that's very appropriate. I took that away from it. Don't know if I got it wrong. Right? You can do that. You can also remind yourself about who you are and where you are. I am POPSANN. I am no longer in a traumatic situation. I am safe. I am confident. So, three things that she has shared, and she gave us a bonus visualization, biblical visualization. Put in the chat right now which one of them resonates with you. Which one will you try? Sanya, I'm saying to you, where were you a few years ago when I needed you? When I was having flashback to a particular room with a particular instance of the abuse, and whenever I had the flashback, I would just hold my head like this and say, no, 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 I'm not, no, no, no. And it would happen anytime. Sometimes I'm with my husband, my brain would want to go back. Maybe it's my brain's way of saying, you have to deal with this because it's keeping you in survival mode. And I refuse. I would shut my eyes as tightly as I could, hold on to my head as if I were squeezing my brain into mush because I did not want to deal with it. And Sonia is saying to us today, don't fight the brain. God created the brain in this way so that you can be helped. If a house is on fire, you want the alarm to go off. You
yeah,
want the smoke to rise. If the smoke doesn't rise, if the alarm doesn't go off, we are going to have fatalities. And we do not want any of us to be victims of this anymore. We are on the survival mode. We're saying no to fatalities. We are saying no to destruction. We're saying no to devastation. And we're saying yes to healing and yes to God's purpose for our lives. Sanya, thank you so much for coming. I know we're past the half on a period, but I really had to keep you. Tanisha says, awesome techniques. I especially love the mindfulness technique, focusing on the sensory details to keep you in the present. And she put that in all caps. Awesome. I think I was like, what is her name? But she corrected it. She said, Sanya, thank you so much. Do you have any last words, my dear? Any last words to
uh,
all WHD family? Because you're
yes,
a part of it now.
yes. I just want to encourage each and every listener here that healing is possible. You no longer have to be living by the chains of the past. Healing is possible. There's support around you. Just reach out. Secrecy is our greatest enemy. Try and find someone who you trust, who is a professional, who knows how to deal with these things, and allow them to help you because healing is possible.
Yes, thank you so much. And as we close today, as Sanya says, we want you to reach out. And also remember, if you're not at the place where you want to share your experience, you're still afraid, just being a part of Women Healing Together is a start. Just to be exposed to professionals who are giving you practical tips, who are giving you insights. So share the video, hit the notification bell after subscribing. Come, we want you to be a part of the family because there are so many other guests who are lined up, ready and waiting to go. You see Sunny and me having this secret code because we have something awesome coming up and she knows about it. As we end today, I just want to, we support each other, and I just want to talk about some awesome initiatives that Sania is leading. She is a parenting coach, and she does have a parenting coach program called Transform Your Parenting. I know that a lot of parents are struggling, especially women who have experienced trauma. You're trying to center yourself, you're trying to regulate yourself, and at the same time, with dealing with your hurt and your pain, you're also trying to grow children, and it can be a struggle. I know that my mom also experienced that, trying to deal with her issues and at the same time trying to deal with a daughter who is also having her issues. So Sanya is willing and ready and waiting. Please join her Facebook group. It's called the Parent Journey. The Empowered Parent Journey. Her Facebook page, please follow. It's called the Parent. Why am I saying payment? I want some money. The Empowered Parent. She's also on IG at the underscore empowered underscore parent. And she's also a fellow YouTuber. So check out her YouTube channel at Sania Dookie. She is available to provide parenting coach. She's also a public speaker and she also does training. So reach out to her on any one of these platforms. And I know her personally. She's an awesome person and she will be willing to help you in whatever way she can. Sania, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thank you
A
so much
pleasure
for
being here.
sharing. Yes, thank you for sharing with the ladies. And as I always say, we heal so much better when we heal together. Talk the truth because the truth will definitely set you free. See you the first Wednesday in January 2020. Bye.